What's going on, my people? For what it's worth, I am here. I am here. Off to a little bit later start than I expected, but just know that it's all good. I am still here and I'm ready. So, what's going on with you, my people? Those that may be here, those that may have been here, those that are listening on replay, whatever it may be, you are appreciated. You are appreciated. So, you see the title, the intent at least is to talk about a little bit of some military history. Shout out to all the veterans out there. Just happened a day ago, we had Veterans Day. So, salute to all the veterans, those who have served, salute to all those serving in whatever capacity. The day prior, we had, of course, the 249th United States Marine Corps birthday. So salute, and shout out to all of my fellow Marines out there. Semper Fi, Ora, Godspeed, you name it, the full gamut. We're here to talk about some boxers who have served in the military and went on to do some pretty phenomenal things in the world of boxing. Some feats that we will seldom see, some, who just competed and were able to do some things that garner them respect in the world of boxing. So it all depends on how you look at it. Essentially, we're just here to pay respect, pay homage, show some love. Now, this was intended to start a little bit earlier, as mentioned. So thank you all for those that are joining right now. We'll see how it goes. Maybe some people will join in here live. Otherwise, I'll chat with myself, baby. It's all good. But with that in mind, let's go ahead and dive right into it. So Joshua here representing 86 Boxing. Be sure to visit 86boxing.com. Be sure to hit up the social medias. Follow us. Be sure to like this video. If you're on here right now, be sure to like. And in addition, let's just have some fun. So we're going to start this thing out by just talking about the military, what it means. Of course, you're serving, protecting, defending your country. And it just so happens we've had war in varying stages throughout the history of boxing. And we've had boxers who had to postpone their career or a temporary pause, it may be, to go serve in a combat capacity, garrison capacity, just different phases, different stages. But at the end of the day, it was all meant to show love for sure and protect and serve those that are here, those that represent what you stand for as a country. And much kudos to that. Shout out to my man, Remy. Salute to you there, bro. Says he's listening. Appreciate you there, Remy, with the super chat there. $2. Hey, Remy, hey, you always keep it real. Appreciate you there, Remy, as always. It's all appreciated. Got to send you something there, Remy. I got to send you something just for showing love. Appreciate you 100%. Got to send you some of this 86 boxing swag for sure. So I got you. I'm going to set something up for sure. But appreciate you dropping by there, buddy. Here to talk a little bit of the military history. And now, of course, I'm not touching on every waking detail, because there are certain instances that I do know of, certain individuals that I do know of, but I'm sure there's a vast history of those that have served in the military and competed in the sport, some of which I don't know. I'm really going to be speaking on some of the more high-profile names. And, of course, as people join up, if they have individuals in mind who served, you can feel free to share. I also want to touch on some who may have served outside of the United States where I'm at, but there are other militaries around the world where individuals served for their country, and they, of course, can get recognition as well. So it's a salute to all the veterans that are out there. Salute to all the military personnel who have provided support to us here over the years and provided entertainment through the sport of boxing. So I just wanted to take the time to highlight some of those individuals. And I have a video that I intended to release, a kind of little live I recorded today while on a stroll walking the dog, where I was asking about who was the greatest boxer to have served in the military. Now, that's a hard thing to say, of course, because it can be pretty extensive. And of course, there might be some individuals you don't know about. Then certain things you might want to weigh. So realistically, there's no wrong answer. And it comes down to, of course, what may attract you or tie you to a specific boxer. And there are some big names that are out there. One of them, of course, is Joe Louis. So he's someone that came to mind sort of on the forefront there because he played a very significant role in the sport. Joe Louis, that is. And Joe Louis is one of those individuals who not only made a name for himself in the sport, but stood out as one of the greatest to ever competed in the sport. Think about him as a heavyweight, just one of the greatest. If you ask people, there are going to be a short list. He's going to be on all of the short lists. Probably going to be number one on a good number of them. Number two, three. But generally between 1 and 2, depending on which way you go, because many hold him in high regard, as well as Muhammad Ali, for instance. But realistically, when you think about it, I mean, no wrong way to go. Both of those were excellent fighters. But Joe Louis, man, he's someone who really made his mark from a military standpoint, or at least competing in boxing, and what he was able to do for the military, raising money for them, doing benefits, things of that nature. Shout out to Surreal Idealist. Hey, appreciate your Surreal Idealist. Salute 86. Hope you had a great Veterans Day. Hey, thank you there, buddy. I did. I appreciate you for sharing some love here. It's all good, my man. Yes, it was great. So I send a shout out and salute to all the veterans out there for sure. Surrealist Idealist says chronologically in order: Gene Tunney, Lewis, Charles, Marciano, Ken Norton. All right, that's good stuff right there. Surrealist Idealist. So some of them I was going to speak on for sure. And of course, Gene Tunney, when I think about the fighting Marines and I think about the Marine Corps as a whole and the branch for which I served in, he is someone who most certainly comes to mind. I call him the face of Marine boxing, or Marine Corps boxing, because we all know him as the fighting Marine. And when you think the fighting Marine, that, of course, is a predecessor to any of you heard here at this particular point. Though there have been other Marines fighting sailors, fighting Marines, but generally, when you think about USS or USMC, United States Marine Corps, you think about Gene Tunney, the fighting Leatherneck, because he is one who stood out in a magnificent manner, former world heavyweight champion. And ideally, when you're thinking about boxers who competed in the heavyweight, light heavyweight division, he is going to rank amongst the greatest of all time, any way you slice it. Shout out to Dan. Dan the man dropped by, says, salute Josh, happy Veterans Day. I appreciate you. Warm regards to you and all, of course. Warm regards to all who served, of course. We're talking military boxers, those that have served, that went on to have a pretty solid overall career, or they went on to have one of the all-time great careers. And there have been a number of them, as I mentioned. So thank you all for joining. And we're talking a little bit of Joe Louis and a little bit of Gene Tunney. Of course, Surrealist Idealist mentioned it chronologically. He mentioned his order right there. And of course, the fighting Marine, Gene Tunney, has to come into the fold. I just wanted to pull that up there for a little bit for you all to see. You can't go wrong with the fighting Marine, Gene Tunney. 65 victories, 48 of them via knockout, 1 loss, 1 draw, 17 no decisions, 1 no contest. Now, of course, you can factor in those no decision bouts, and those will all be victories for him. So he only lost once in his career, And I believe if you are a follower of the history, you will know that was to the Pittsburgh Windmill, Harry Greb. So Gene Tunney, just one of those magnificent fighters who competed, had a career at light heavyweight, and went on to do his thing at heavyweight. So Gene Tunney is one who most certainly stands out. Probably his most famous fight, of course, is going to center on the long count with Jack Dempsey, which happened in 1927. And that fight, the name speaks for itself. The long count is one in which Dempsey dropped Tunney. I believe it was like the 7th round, and ultimately it's viewed as a long count issue by the ref, which it was. But that was because of the fact that rule had been implemented, and essentially you had to return to a neutral corner once you dropped an opponent. This is something that Dempsey wanted, and he seemingly forgot about it. But of course, he was a guy who very much came up in the era where you could hover over an opponent and pretty much blast them as soon as they were trying to get up. But that being said, he didn't think about it in that moment, and he gave Tunney some extra time. So that's why it's considered a long count, because Tunney was able to recover and subsequently stayed away from him, choosing to box on the outside, pretty much like he did in the first fight for the remainder of the contest. So that is something to certainly take into account there, just thinking about it. So the long count fight, one of the more famous fights there for Gene Tunney, probably his most famous fight from an overall standpoint. Shout out to Just Bod, says salute, how are you, brother? I appreciate you there, Bod. Salute to you. Be sure to go check him out, folks. Just Bod. Be sure to give him a subscription. Like for sure. Check us out when we do the Boxing Shit podcast on Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern. We're going to try and get it jumping off this Sunday coming up. So be on the lookout for sure. But yeah, we're talking some of those that have served in the military. We're just talking Gene Tunney, his most famous fight being that long count fight. But that being said, he had a number of other great fights that he was involved with. Probably Jack Dempsey is probably his greatest rival, second to Gene Tunney, but you could argue it's the other way as well. It's really, you can flip and flop it, because he fought Harry Greb more. That being said, the stakes of those fights with Jack Dempsey were higher because it was a world heavyweight championship on the line, and they garnered more of the attention because that second fight with Jack Dempsey was one that garnered over $2 million, the first ever $2 million+ gate right there. So just think about that. And this is 1927, and what you can factor in with inflation, just how much money was generated. That was partially due to, of course, Dempsey, who was a part of the first $1 million gate. But Tunney brought something to the fold as well. And there were a lot of people who wanted to see Tunney go down. And ultimately, he was able to get that victory. He did go down, pun intended, because he was dropped with that long count. But if you look at it on video, it seems that he was pretty much aware. I'm of the thought process that he would have gotten up regardless of whether Dempsey would have moved back quicker than he did. He seemed to have his senses, and when he did get up, he had no problem getting back on his bike and working from the outside. And Dempsey, of course, tried to stalk him and was unsuccessful, much like he was for the entirety of their two contests, 20 rounds fought. You could argue that Dempsey only won 1 round. I think that's what the consensus is, generally speaking. Just By says, what's with the dark atmosphere? I think it's because I have the dark setting on for StreamYard. They didn't offer that previously, and what you were seeing was light from the actual computer screen. Now in here, there is a light on, but if I had the white background or the white StreamYard setting, which is the daylight setting on, then you would get that reflection of light. So that's why it seems a bit darker, because I'm using the dark mode setting that they have, which they recently introduced here within the last month or two. and therefore that's what it is. And I don't have an external light that I have on, though I do have some around here. It just looks off. I need to do just an overall kind of overhaul of this lighting in here. I could do something of that nature there, boss. You can really get an understanding or really light it up in here, but yeah, I haven't found that ideal setting as of yet. And one of the lights is out on one of the fans up here, but I'm going to change this setting around. I have recessed lighting that will be added at some point. They're sitting right here. Just haven't had a chance to get that done yet. But as long as you can see me somewhat there, boss. Tunney was amazing. Indeed, he was. Indeed, one of the great military fighters. Dan mentions as far as guys who did lots of fighting in war, Barney Ross and Danny Nardico. Okay, Danny Nardico. Good stuff right there. Yep, Barney Ross, he's someone I do have a actual banner made for him. Barney Ross was no doubt one you have to mention amongst those guys. Barney Ross, as you can see there, 72 victories, 48 via knockout, 4 losses, 3 draws, 2 no decisions, and those can be factored in as well. Just amazing when you just look at it from a record standpoint, what he was able to accomplish. Of course, Barney Ross is one of the all-time greats. Thinking about the lightweight division, he was able to move up 140, so he was still formidable. But generally speaking, Barney Ross, one of the all-time greats. Hell of a boxer, technically speaking, visually speaking. So he is certainly one you have to mention. Danny Nardico, I need to know more about Danny Nardico there, Dan. I know of him, but not enough that I can provide a good enough justification or good enough explanation of his career from an overall standpoint. So appreciate you bringing him up. Danny Nardico. And what branch did he serve there, Dan? Because we're really pretty much open to all. Steve Cunningham was also a Marine. Steve USS Cunningham. Yes, he was a recent, or at least more recent, light heavyweight and cruiserweight or maybe did he start at light heavyweight? Or could have started at cruiserweight. And then he went up to heavyweight. But yeah, I remember Steve Cunningham dropped Tyson Fury in one of the early contests. Tyson Fury went on to, get the victory, of course. Did they rematch? They might have rematched. But yeah, Steve USS Cunningham. So he was Marine Corps, Marine or Navy. He might have been Navy, but I'm not sure. But given he was USS, seems to tie to Navy, but he could have been a part of Marine Expeditionary Force. Mac Foster was all action, all was in action, all USMC. Gotcha, Dan. Yeah, you mentioned Mac Foster before. I noted that I need to look him up there, Dan, and I still need to do so. Do some research on Mac Foster there, but you have mentioned him, so big shout outs and salutes there. Chief Kikiros. I think I'm saying that right. That's the God of War guy right there. But appreciate you dropping by there, buddy. Says, my dad was an inter-service welterweight champion in 1959, 7th Cab. Oh, wow. That's pretty awesome right there, Chief. Well, hey, appreciate you dropping by, sharing some love, and dropping in some knowledge here. That is pretty awesome right there. That is pretty awesome. So salute to your dad. Hey, we send our thanks for his service right there. Hey, doing it back there in the day. So, rough times, of course. You think about it, yeah, some rougher times, less armor, etc., less technology, all of that stuff. Man, those individuals were tough. Any way you slice it, those supporting any of those combat operations during those periods, as tough as they come, for sure. So salute there to you, Chief. Appreciate you sharing. Funny there, boss. Chief also mentioned hours gone, but his trophy always sat on the mantle. Okay, cool. That is pretty awesome. Yeah, and that's saying something right there because, hey, those military men and women, they love to compete. And I can just think about my time in. Competing, that was a big deal, whatever the sport may be. But that's good stuff right there, Chief. Man, appreciate that. And as others acknowledging all That is some awesome stuff. Phil Smith. All right, Phil Smith there, Chief. Appreciate you sharing such. Kudos to you. Kudos to you. Shout out to Phil Smith. Held it down. Champion there, inner service. That's what I'm talking about. Tough. Oh, I just deciphered what your nickname means, Chief. Okay, got you there, Bob. He trained with Floyd Patterson. Oh, that's pretty awesome. Floyd Patterson, yeah, we know he went on to do some amazing things in the sport there as well. Former world heavyweight champion, a great light heavyweight as well. So that is pretty awesome right there, being able to train. So, he was pretty schooled in what it is that he was doing there. So salute there to you for sharing great stories. See, we appreciate it, folks. Thanks all who come in and share this type of information. You get it here, maybe on some other channels as well, but we're here now. So salute to you all. Appreciate it. Tama Karamina. Hey, appreciate you. Thanks for dropping by. Can you make a documentary on Jack Blackburn, please? And says, thank you for your videos. Hey, appreciate you. No, thank you for dropping by and checking them out, showing some love. Now, there is a Jack Blackburn video on the channel. You have to look it up, Jack Blackburn 86 Boxing. I might have to find it, but there is a video on the channel there, Tama. It's not a long one. It might be under 10 minutes, but it was one of the earlier videos that I did. That being said, he is sort of overdue. A lot of these fighters are overdue for a longer video, and I hope to do that at some point. But I would definitely like to do one that is longer on Jack Blackburn, who trained Joe Louis. Speaking of a military service member, I did mention him there at the top. Just want to pull up that. So, hey, we know the deal there. Joe Louis, just look at that record there. 66 victories, 3 losses, 52 knockouts. I mean, one of the greats that we've seen there at heavyweight. And as mentioned, many regard him as the greatest heavyweight of all time. And if that's the case, hey, hard to argue against you. I mean, he was simply one of the best. And then what he did during his time in the military, that spoke volumes, essentially. And I think that you could argue, and for me, I would lean in this direction, the most significant fight in history may have very well been Lewis versus Smelling 2, just given the implication, the stakes, and we think about it from a military standpoint, since we're on that topic, no question, probably the most significant fight in sporting history. It might be the most significant event in sporting history in general, and I think I would lean towards that as well. Just in general, the most significant event, Lewis Smelling 2. So many implications that were tied to that. It's hard to pick something that would top it. As mentioned, arguments can be made, but man, I got to lean that one. But thanks you there, Thomas. Yeah, we're going to definitely look at another Blackburn one, and I appreciate you checking out the videos for sure. Cruiserweight there, Just Bob's going to started at cruiser. Okay, cool. So not light heavy. Anchorage, Alaska. All right, Chief. Anchorage, Alaska. That's cool. Love you guys. Thanks for the service. Hey, appreciate you. Appreciate you there, Chief. And that's awesome. Anchorage, Alaska. My partner, she was from Alaska, or she used to live in Alaska. Fairbanks, to be exact. I haven't been to Alaska. Definitely want to get up there at some point. But that is pretty awesome there, Chief. So I know a little bit about Alaska from what's been shared with me, at least. Beautiful place, of course. Dan mentions USMC, Danny Nardico, only man to knock down LaMotta, one of the ring's top 109 hardest punchers. Danny Nardico, awesome light heavy, one of the best World War II in Korea, lots of brutal fights. He found boxing easy. Okay. That is pretty cool. Pardon, had to take a drink, but that is pretty awesome right there. Danny Nardico. Okay, you know what? I think it was mentioned in Raging Bull, and I think about it. Might have been. Really tough guys out of Alaska. Indeed there, Dan. Indeed. Yes, we are glad to have you here, Chief. Thank you for sharing all that good stuff for sure. Greg Hagen won the Alaskan Tough Man contest. Did I say his name right? Hagen? I know who you're talking about. He lived there. Though he's from Washington State. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. You see some travel between those areas right there. Of course, that's the closest U.S. state to Alaska there. So that makes sense there for sure, Boz. So, hey, tough man, though. I remember those competitions. They're very interesting. Thomas says, thank you. I'll make sure to check it out. No doubt. Hey, appreciate you. Also train Harry Wiley, Sugar Ray Robinson trainer. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That is pretty crazy to think about that, you know. Wow, that's certainly something worth mentioning right there. And we know what Sugar Ray went on to become. Many regard him as the greatest boxer of all time. So just think about that connection. You got Chappie connecting to Harry Wiley Sr., Sugar Ray Robinson, of course. Crazy. Joe Louis, Sammy Mandel, another champion. I mean, just so many names, so many connections. Just think about how some of the great training and learning is passed down. It's through connections of those sorts. So many kudos to those. Many kudos to those individuals. Yes, good to have you here, Chief. Certainly, indeed. Dan Citizens Haugen. Greg Haugen. Got you right there, Boz. Thanks. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Haugen did win in Alaska, too. Lots of tough man contests. He was a throwback. All right. That's good stuff right there. Norwegian. All right. Good stuff indeed. So salute to everyone joining again here. Of course, 86 of us. We're talking about some of the greats to have served in the military and competed in the sport, as well as other historic stuff. You know, we mentioned the likes of Joe Louis, Gene Tunney, and this is cross-continental in some sense. Want to pull up a guy by the name of Tom Sharkey, the fighting sailor. You could even hear him referred to as the fighting Marine. But he is one of the greats to have laced him up. Heavyweight. And of course, he had a hell of a punch to him. He was about 5'8", but hey, he was a stocky, solid built guy. As tough as they come. Look at him there, cauliflower ear, 37 victories, 7 losses, 34 knockouts in those 37 victories. I mean, talk about a fighter right there. Talk about tough. No doubt, Tom Sharkey. So he served in the naval forces. He's originally from Dundalk, Ireland, but man, as tough as they come right there. Fought for the world heavyweight title. Fought Jim Jeffries. Fought Jeffries twice. Hey, for all intents and purposes, hey, Jeffrey couldn't get him out of there, man. That shows you how tough he is. And we know how strong Jeffries was. And certainly Jeffries had size and strength on him. But Tom Sharkey, man, tough. He was a tough guy for sure. He could box pretty decently, but certainly known for that punch. And he could apply that trade on the inside. We don't really have much on him from a footage perspective, but as I've mentioned before, probably in other videos, we do have Tom Sharkey taking on James J. Jeffries for about a minute. We have about a minute of footage in their second fight. Would have been cool to have the entire thing, but apparently the lights blew out or something like that, and it was lost. So there was just a little bit of footage that was from some kind of cigar box that was there, I want to say illegally, but to our benefit, of course. And you get to see them going at it there for a short little period. There's a small little period there. So if you haven't seen that, be sure to go check it out. And I believe that is the only footage we do have of Tom Sharkey outside of when he was a little bit older. They show him sparring with James Jeffries. I guess they did a mock reenactment, kind of little sparring session, a little short clip there too. They were both older though, so it's good to have both of those realistically. I mean, it's amazing we have some of the footage going back to when we did. All right. But yeah, Norwegian. Yeah. Hey, there have been some great Norwegians to step out there. Oh, representing there for Norway, huh? Boz, hey, Norwegian ancestry. That's good stuff. Oh, yeah. It's a great fighter. Indeed. Beat Camacho and Pazienza. Oh, yeah. Hey, that speaks something. Yeah. Dundalk, tough place near Northern Irish border. Yep. Yeah. No, that's good stuff right there. Chief, do you have a database of inter-service boxing champions? No, I don't. I just have some that I've collected in terms of I created some banners for that I'm showing, but I don't have necessarily a database. Now on the channel, I did do a video of the top 8 fighting Marines. Of course, it's subjective. So I do have that on the channel. So if you look that up, you'll see it there, the top 8 fighting Marines. Of course, I want to do another one because, yeah, it's subjective as mentioned, and I left some individuals off that could very well be added there. And maybe that's where a part 2 is warranted. But I do have some things made for like those guys as well as a few others, but I don't have a running database of the inter service boxing champion. That'd be good to have there. That would be good to have. Just before hopping on here, I was a little bit late. I was doing an amateur boxing. I had a board meeting for who I'm with. Shout out PVA Boxing. But we had a board meeting, and essentially, it went a little bit over. But I bring that up because I officiate boxing on the amateur side, and I've done the Brigade Boxing Championships for a number of years, and that's Navy boxing, and it's pretty awesome being able to do that. Very prestigious event, so much respect to it. And you have those in the Naval Academy really getting it in there. Some go on to be Marines as well, so added plus, just being in that environment. But that is something cool to have right there, Chief. Certainly worth consideration. Beat Panzers all 3 times. Got robbed in 2. Got you there, Dan. Speaking of Hagen. Vinny Paz was protected back then. All right, old Vinny P. Thomas says, thank you for the advice and wisdom, your videos. And you have inspired me to become the best version of myself. Hey, appreciate you there, Tama. I try to be here to do what I can, show love to these great historic fighters, and share whatever I can for sure. Appreciate that wholeheartedly, 100% there, Tama. Man, yeah, and that right there, that's a touching thing for sure. And I think we all, we relish on the history and just think about varying times and, just try to show love to some of these great fighters and look for ways in which we can highlight them, highlight others as well. And, hey, I appreciate you saying that there, Tama. And I hope you continue to do great things there for sure. And that's real talk. Chief said that info has to be documented somewhere. Yeah, it might be there, Chief. Might be somewhere. Chief, I know Michael Strahan's father fighting for Army beat Ken Norton one time in service, Norton's UFC. Yeah. Oh, wow. Didn't know that about Strahan right there, Dan. That's pretty awesome. Man, yeah, learning some things right here myself. So that's a kudos and thank you for even sharing that, because I didn't know that right there, Dan. And I think that adds to the value of others here listening, seeing this stuff. That's pretty darn awesome. We know Ken Norton. We know how good he was. I mean, yeah, one of the best heavyweights we saw there of the 70s, etc. I mean, just think about him, the Black Hercules there, but he's someone I do have a banner on as well, because Ken Norton certainly one who made a name there in the sport. Now, I did have a banner. I guess I don't have it in here. Thought I did. Well, it looks like I don't. But he is a hell of a fighter for sure. One person I didn't have on that list, Leon Spinks. I know we know Leon Spinks. Now, of course, his career was certainly up and down. He had a great first part of his career. World champion with only 7 fights. And, of course, that was a lot of fanfare, fame, etc. that came with it. And, yeah, Leon, hey, from a lifestyle perspective, probably didn't help him out there. So, yeah, his career didn't finish too great, but fighting Marine right there, world heavyweight champion. So that says something. Chief says that if it has to be documented somewhere, yeah. Oh yeah, I did see that. And Chief says, I wonder if you could get that through the Freedom of Information Act. Good questions. It might be. It might be. I have to look into it from a documentation standpoint. I know the Navy does a good job of tracking it there at the Naval Academy in terms of brigade boxing. They fall into that national championship realm. So it's like collegiate. But I'm sure there are probably some other ones that have that type of stuff. I'll have to look into it there, Chief. But that would be good to, have a database. Dan mentions Chief Tunney only lost one fight to Greb, but in the amateurs, Tunney lost one fight against Tommy Loughran, who was Army champ. Oh yeah, that is right. Tommy Loughran. Yeah, he's someone worth mentioning. I do have a banner for the great Tommy Loughran. Certainly one of the best that the sport has seen there. Tommy Loughran, thanks for bringing him up there, Dan. I forgot that. Yeah, he did serve. It was later, though. It was a little bit later. Look at that record right there. 90-25. This is not even factoring in those no decisions, you know what I'm saying? 44 of those, but 90-25, just looking at it, that base record. Man, and he could box. Only 14 knockouts. So you know what that means? He could box. We got Tommy on film, and you think about the likes of Harry Greb. He's someone who went up against Tommy Loughran, beat Tommy Loughran. So that tells you he beat Tommy Loughran, Gene Tunney. It's like, even though we don't have film of Greb in action there in an official fight, that's saying something, because we do have a decent amount of footage for Tommy Loughran, who fought, during that period. And man, Tommy Loughran, no doubt, one of the best right there. We think about the great light heavyweights, he should be on that list. One of the great light heavyweights, top 10 all-time light heavyweight right there. Fought at heavyweight as well and had some success. But Tommy Loughran, just a natural, pure boxer. We got plenty of footage. Graceful style. I mean, nice jab. I'm just thinking about how he had his stance. He had that little left out there, that right hand down. You could throw that jab out there. So, yeah, Tommy Loughran, man, if you don't know Tommy, check him out. The Phantom of Philly. But, yeah, one of the best we've seen in the sport right there. And he has a hell of a resume, too. Think about just great resumes, tough resumes. Tommy Loughran is one of those. So good nod right there, Dan. Norton was very underrated. Indeed. Could be a little bit chinny, but man, when he was on, he was on. Sure, if you could get that info, that would be awesome for your channel. Indeed there, Chief. Yeah, definitely going to take note of such. I want to try and do that, as a matter of fact, because it's good to recognize these military individuals. And I definitely want to do so. Dan mentioned Leon Spinks, Norton, Michael Weaver, Mac Foster, all in the 70s, all USMC. Oh, yes. I know about Mike Weaver, Hercules, another Hercules right there. And this stems from, as mentioned, I did a video on those fighting Marines. So Mike Weaver, another one, world heavyweight champion here in the multi-belt era. But, man, built like a rock. As you can see, he's like an Adonis. So he was able to, when he was on his game, when he was focused and ready to fight, Mike Weaver was a tough individual to deal with right there in the heavyweight division. Of course, he had the size to go along with it, so he deserves a nod, no doubt about it, man. And much respect to Mike Weaver. Think about him and Michael Dokes. I mean, hey, Mike Weaver, the truth right there. Gary Coetzee, freaking Tate. What's Tate's first name? I can't think of Tate's first name, but man, that just speaks volumes right there. Just by says, also a shout out to David Bay, may he rest in peace, who started boxing in the Army. Okay, David Bay. Shout out to David Bay. I don't know if I know David Bay. In Germany, I believe, says Boz. All right, good for sharing there, Boz. David Bay. So shout out to David Bay, RIP. So yeah, I didn't know that. That's good to know. So David Bay. I had to look them up. Well, I will have to. But that's pretty awesome right there. That's pretty awesome. Thanks for sharing for sure, David Bay. Hand grenade. Heck of a name right there. That means you can punch somewhat right there. You could be a puncher for sure if that was the case. So salute to him doing his thing right there, David Bay. Jeff Spots, Philly heavyweight fought Holmes, KO Buster Douglas. Okay. KO Buster Douglas. All right. A world heavyweight champion right there. Fought Holmes. Larry Holmes was another champion. All right. I'm talking about, hey, some top-notch fighters for sure. Top-notch boxers in the purest sense right there. Think about that jab Holmes had when Buster Douglas was on his game. He was something special. So that's saying something right there, boss, for sure. So kudos to those guys. Yeah, we're talking heavyweight boxers, or not heavyweight boxers, but military boxers who did their thing. Dan mentions, did he get killed in a construction accident? Yeah, not sure there, Dan. But that'd be good to know if you know their boss. But that's unfortunate for sure. Certainly unfortunate. Hold up. I have a banner for, let me see here. Another Marine, Carmen Basilio. He's a favorite of many. The Upstate Onion Farmer. I want to show this. Of course, I told you I did a video on some of the top fighting Marines. But man, he is certainly one of them. About as tough as they come right there for sure. 56 victories with 27 knockouts, 16 losses, 7 draws. Wasn't afraid to step in with bigger men. Man, he's in there with a who's who as well. From a resume perspective, we know he fought Sugar Ray Robinson. So, heck of a fighter right there, Carmen Basilio. So, we have to give him nods for sure. Big shout out, Carmen Basilio from Kennesaw, New York, where the International Boxing Hall of Fame is, as a matter of fact. And one of those guys who you could pretty much hit him with almost anything in the kitchen sink and all, and he would still stand tough and tall. So big shout out to him. World welterweight champion, world middleweight champion. I mean, just a tough guy right there. Fighter to be recognized. And Bob mentions Bay did die at 60 in 2017 to a construction accident. That is pretty much unfortunate right there that happened. Unfortunate, but we salute to him for what he was able to do from a service perspective and there in the sport. Dave mentions Ray Mercer. Ray Mercer was military? Did I know that? I don't think I knew that. Ray Mercer. Merciless Ray Mercer. Guess I didn't know that. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Army, being the son of retired Army NCO. He grew up as a military brat. Oh, he's a military brat. Oh, yeah. He served in the United States Army, Europe, and Africa, V Corps Infantry. Okay. Excuse me. Sorry. Oh, he's a sergeant. Okay, damn. Merciless Ray Mercer. Okay, good stuff there, Dan. Ray Mercer, I mean, think about some of the 90s heavyweight boxing. He was on the scene for sure. Knocked out Tommy Morrison and a brutal knockout right there. Certainly a highlight worthy knockout for sure. We've seen it. So Ray Mercer, known to be one of those guys who had a punch on him. He could box. And he'd have some ups and downs as far as focus in fights. But that being said, tough guy to deal with anytime you stepped in the ring with him there. So shout out to Ray Mercer. He even went on to do a little bit of MMA there at an older age. He was post-boxing. And he still packed a punch in doing that. So merciless Ray Mercer. So cool. That is good stuff. Let's see who else we have here. Served in the military. I do have this thing, or I do have the depiction here of. Oh, do I? Or maybe I don't. Let's see how. I have some. Oh yeah, Paul Pender. Paul Pender, former world middleweight champion, fought Sugar Ray Robinson, Terry Downs. He was a Marine, fireman as well. Brookline Fire Department. So he had someone of note for sure. 40 victories, 6 losses, 2 draws, 20 victories via knockout. But he fought Sugar Ray Robinson, Terry Downs, and yeah, he was a heck of a fighter there. And fireman. So, as mentioned, world middleweight champion, worthy of a nod. And just since I mentioned him, of course, Terry Downs, same here. He was from the UK, 35 victories, 9 losses, 28 victories, 28 of those 35 via knockout. So, Terry Downs, another fighter worth mentioning there. And he is someone who was able to capture the world middleweight championship. Served in the military, in the Marine Corps. How about that, folks? Just about as mentioned, Mercer was as tough as nails, indeed. Dan mentions Rocky Castellani, one of the greatest middleweights to not get a title. Fought lots in World War II. Marine, later became one of the top judges in boxing. All right, that's good stuff right there. Thanks for mentioning such, Dan. Boz mentioned he's heard of Castellani. You think? Yeah, I may have heard of him. But certainly this has put me on game and given me more information in regards to him. That's crazy. Marine right there. Definitely should know about him. So certainly it might warrant another Marine video because there seem to be more out there than what may meet the eye. And they deserve their regards for sure. So plenty of individuals that have been mentioned here. I'm going to mention them. Hey, thinking about it from a modern standpoint. Now, I did create this. I just want to show, just to show some love, a couple of modern people that run across, had a direct interaction with. Look at there. We got Mark Bazooka DeLuca. He's a Marine. We got Stephanie Simon, Marine captain right now, who is competing in the sport. She's 1-0. Orlando Hollywood Hollis, he competed in the sport. He's retired now, but he was in the Army. And as a matter of fact, he won the Golden Gloves at, I believe, welterweight in 1994. Went on to have a pro career, had some ups and downs. But shout out to them. I actually ran into Orlando Hollywood Hollis at the Washington VA Medical Center, as a matter of fact. And that's how I was able to connect with him. Done an interview with him on the channel. Of course, Stephanie Simon as well. Did an interview with Mark Bazooka DeLuca, but it was on a different, it was for a different group or organization or blog or whatnot. That being said, I need to get Bazooka DeLuca on here. He's out training now. He's out in Massachusetts, or at least he was training in Massachusetts, or that's where he was fighting out of at one point. And he is training now, and he has some top-level fighters that he's tied to. Abraham Supernova, and he just fought recently, as a matter of fact. So shout out to Mark Bazooka DeLuca. Stephanie Simon, of course, the new fighting Marine there. So salute to her. And others. Oh, yeah, Ray Mancini, father Lenny Mancini. All right. Oh, yeah, I interviewed Ray once. He was mentioning his father and all of that stuff. So, no, big shout out there, Dan. Big shout out. Ray Boom Boom Mancini. Good guy. Yeah, great to converse with. So, yeah, he's a nice guy. So shout out and salute to him for sure. Oh, Boom Boom meant the world to that Youngstown, Ohio area, especially in the manufacturing downturn, Black Monday. He was telling me about that, what it meant for that city and surrounding areas in general, and how boxing brought some life to that area. And Youngstown, they've had some pretty solid boxers over the years. Kelly Pavlik, one of the more recent ones who reached that world championship status. So shout out to Boom Boom. Brother fought as well, if I'm not mistaken, right? So then great middleweight champion Michael Dow, only fighter from the USA to fight in the trenches during World War I. Oh yeah, I know Michael Dow. Wow, crazy. So I need to look up what service he was with. That is pretty darn funny. Michael Dow. So he where is Michael Dow from? He's not from Minnesota. Is he from Minnesota? Is he? He might be from Minnesota. But Michael Dow, that's crazy. Yeah, he was a top level fighter for sure. And he was in there with some greats. I'm trying to think. I haven't looked at his stuff in a minute. Did he fight Greb? I want to say he fought Greb. Michael Dow. And Greb, and he wouldn't give Greb a rematch or something of that nature. Michael Dow. But yeah, tough fighter for sure. Yeah, so Minnesota. Oh, beat Mike Givens and Greb. Okay, yeah. Oh, Mike Givens, the Philly Phantom right there. Yeah, Minnesota, they've had some good boxers, especially St. Paul, because that's where Gibbons is from. Both of the Gibbons brothers. I guess that's where Mike Dow might be from right there. And I'm just trying to think off top. Yeah, I haven't dove into Mike Dow in a while, but a hell of a fighter. I know exactly what he looks like. He was tough for sure. And that speaks something. You beat that speaks something. You beat Mike Gibbons, one of the great middleweights that we've seen in the sport. Excellent boxer. Dan, great middleweight and welterweight Dow. Oh, yes, sir. Michael Dow. But yeah, I didn't know he was military right there. So thanks for sharing there, Dan. Told you, hey, Dan knows his stuff. Be sure to go follow him. Subscribe to him, folks. He's got some knowledge there, some good history in the sport of boxing for sure. And I think that is beneficial. Awesome stuff, Dan. Appreciate you sharing. Mike freaking O'Dowd. Let me see who else I may have here from a banner standpoint that may be tapped into the sport. Fighting Marine. Who else do I have? Terry Downs, Barney Ross, Paul Pindner, Tommy Lockton. Oh, yeah, I guess that's just about all who I have at least banners made for. Oh, yeah, George LaBlanche. We'll just share him. You probably see me post something about George LaBlanche before, but George LaBlanche, Canadian, welterweight, middleweightish, you can say somewhere in there. Welterweight, middleweightish. First guy to knock out Nonpareil Jack Dempsey, and this happened in the 1800s. It was the late 1800s, as a matter of fact. Got something on something else. But yeah, excuse me. But George LaBlanche, the Marine. So he served in, I guess, the Canadian forces. I don't know the exact term, but they call them the Marine or sailor. So may have been naval forces that they had there. But known for that pivot punch, which is essentially a spinning back fist. That's what he knocked out Nonpareil Jack Dempsey with. It was subsequently banned, of course, later in boxing as time went on. But he was the first man to stop him. But it was an illegal punch. But it went down on his record. So look at Nonpareil Jack Dempsey's record. You will see that LaBlanche was a guy who defeated him. And he and LaBlanche, they win it. They were going at it. I'm trying to remember if they fought twice. Can't remember off top, but they may have very well fought twice. But George LaBlanche, someone worth checking him out. If you look at the Nonpareil Jack Dempsey video on the channel, you'll see that he pops up. I'm trying to think. I know he fought some other guys who you will know and recognize. I just can't think of who here off top. Other than, of course, high profile, of course, the most being Nonpareil Jack Dempsey, hell of a fighter himself there. Kato Al McCoy for his title. Okay, awesome right there, Dan. That O'Dowd. Tama says, thank you for the wisdom. I'll make sure to check out the rest of the video. Hey, appreciate you there, Tama. Appreciate you indeed there. Appreciate you, buddy. Hey, thanks for dropping by. No doubt about it. Appreciate you taking the time to joining us here as we discuss this. Try to bring about more of it for sure. But yeah, All right, folks, just want to talk a little bit about some of these fighting military men and women. Of course, that's not everyone. I'm sure there are more out there. I only went over some that I had things for, than what you all shared. There are more here in modern times as well that, of course, I didn't get to. You have the likes of Jamel Herring, who's a Marine who has fought here in recent times or still fighting, I guess you can say. Yeah, Dan's rattled off a number as well as others. And man, much respect and major nods to these military individuals and what they were able to do. You think about those earlier wars, whether that's World War One or World War Two. You had a number of individuals who served in the military, and they paused their careers in order to do so. So there are names out there outside of those which I mentioned. And then if you just even go back, I mean, yeah, the military, they've always had an element of boxing, other combat nature tied to them. As a matter of fact, even on YouTube, you go searching, there's old footage of individuals who served in the military who were competing against each other. So that's something to definitely be on the lookout for. So check it out indeed. I think you will enjoy it. And I hope that we can do this again. Thank you to everyone who actually dropped by, showed some love here on the channel. I hope to catch you all again here at some point in the not too distant future so we can talk a little bit more about what has gone on with these military individuals. But we will do more lives as mentioned. So I'll be on the lookout for more opportunities in which we can discuss this. So thank you all for joining, and do stop by again because we will be back indeed. So thank you all, and I appreciate everything that you've done to show love here to the channel, as well as these great boxers, figures who have blessed us over the years with their talent. Until next time, folks,